Yo, what is up, guys? Today we're going to be reacting to Game Theory FNAF Stumped Me. Again, I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. FNAF as a lore is really hard to understand, so I'm not surprised that stumped him. It stumped him in the past. It stumped all of us. But FNAF has stumped MatPat again, so let's just get right into this. He says he needs our help for this video. If you haven't seen the GTA Live video, which I don't know if you have, but I have because I'm a big fan of Game Theory. So let's just get right into this video.
Would you look at that? Nearly 4 months without a single FNAF episode. Feels like it's a brand new day for the channel. There have been so many new games, new meta theories, even some classic science episodes thrown in. I'm happy, I'm healthy. Life is good. And now, time to relax.
Oh, Sharknado? Robot Shark. Okay.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show where old habits and old animatronics die hard. Today, we're talking about the 12th and final installment of the Fazbear Frights book series, Felix the Shark. That's right, friends, the final book. Until the next 3 come out later this year.
Yep.
Anyway, let's not think about that and instead focus on Felix. Now, this final book is special. Just like all the others, it too is a collection of 3 short, spooky stories vaguely connected to the wider FNAF lore. But where this one is different is that it's meant to be a collection of cut stories. As the official
I did not know
reads,
that.
quote, stories that didn't make the cut for the first 11 books. Which, okay, they didn't appear in numbers 1 through 11, but still, they wound up getting published anyway as the 12th one. Is that such a big deal? In fact, because they're last, they're probably in the most important position of any of the stories. And while you might assume that they were cut because they were weaker or lesser than the 33 other Fazbear Frights that were produced, it's not really true. You cut the story about an animatronic shark, but you kept the one where a boy turns into a traffic sign. You cut girl solves dead body shoved into animatronic suit mystery, but kept tiny guppy bodies. You cut a security guard named Mike going around collecting haunted FNAF memorabilia, and yet kept Fazgoo. The truth is, we don't really know why these were cut. It could have been a quality thing. It could have been that they confused the lore, or maybe, just maybe, it could have been that they were intentionally designed to set up secret puzzles that we were meant to solve, and those puzzles never got fully realized. Spoiler alert, I think it might have been that last one. I believe that Scott was planning to use this final book as a launching point, the start of a real-world treasure hunt that would have required using the books, the games, even stuff like the coloring book in order to crack. I suspect that this was a riddle so far-reaching and so complex, it would have required the cooperation of FNAF theorists from across the globe. Today, I'm gonna explain the clues that led me to this conclusion, but more importantly, I'm gonna ask you for your help. You see, while I'm reasonably confident this thing was never finished, I'm not sure. I can't be sure unless you all double check for me. A few years ago, I asked for all your help in solving the security logbook, and a day later, we discovered the name of Cassidy. Today, I'm gonna ask you for something similar. I'm gonna take you on a journey through some weird corners of FNAF lore and some loose threads that I see in this new book, and then I'm gonna ask you for the favor. I need you to help me either solve this thing once and for all or debunk it. And who knows, maybe this is the push that we need to get the next major answer to the game's lore. But breaking down the stories in Felix the Shark, shall we? The final story, You're the Band, is probably the most obviously related to existing FNAF lore. In it, a small boy named Timmy becomes obsessed with everyone's favorite pizza murder franchise, Freddy Fazbear's. His mother finds him a strange Freddy mask on the internet and gives it to him for his birthday. After putting it on,
and it's like the mask
starts to change. He doesn't like the things he used to. He becomes moody and aggressive. He even yells about protecting the others when Granddad walks towards him with a knife. Eventually, Timmy is led to an abandoned Freddy Fazbear's building by a shadowy figure. The whole thing gives off some very solid Midnight Motorist vibes. In order to rescue him, his mother teams up with a former Freddy's security guard named Mike. Turns out the Freddy mask was possessed by one of the children from the original Fazbear murders. When Timmy put on the mask, the spirit transferred into his body, which allowed it to control him. When Mike and Timmy's mom arrive at the restaurant, Timmy is on stage in Freddy's position, performing alongside Bonnie and Chica. After getting attacked by the puppet, Mike manages to get the Freddy mask back onto Timmy, which captures the spirit. He then puts the mask back onto the original Freddy head, getting the spirit back to where it belongs. Now, gotta admit, I got really excited when I read the story. We've suspected for a while that FNAF 1 security guard Mike Schmidt was really Michael Afton going from location to location to undo the evils of his father, William. That's why we play as Mike through pretty much every installment of the series up through Ultimate Custom Night. It's why Mike's name appears in Sister location, why Fazbear
Yeah.
Frights burns down in FNAF 3, and why
Yeah.
the security guard in FNAF 2 is fired for tampering with animatronics and odor, just like Mike was in
Yeah.
FNAF 1. Up until now, that theory's never been confirmed, but this story seems to be strong evidence for exactly that idea. A security guard named Mike going around collecting the old artifacts from Freddy locations in order to help free the spirits of those trapped within. So that was already pretty cool and totally made reading this book worthwhile. Anytime we can get more evidence to support a theory within the franchise, absolutely worth it. But while You're the Band was explicitly lore heavy, the other two stories were equally fascinating, but for different reasons.
The scoop.
There were details that felt odd or out of place, and comments from characters that seemed oddly specific in a way that just triggered my lore hunting senses. In the title story, Felix the Shark, we follow a young man named Dirk who's reminiscing with his friends about their shared experiences with Freddy Fazbear.
I love you, Dirk.
Dirk's memory is slightly different to everyone else's. He's convinced that there was an extra animatronic, a shark named Felix. When his friends make fun of him, Dirk sets off on a cross-country quest to prove that he's not crazy. It takes him 6 restaurants, but Dirk eventually does learn the truth. It turns out Felix was made by the owner of one very specific Freddy Fazbear's after his
Why didn't he just use the internet? Weirdo.
son tragically drowned. Why would that lead him to a shark animatronic? Because it was a shark that actually pushed the body back to shore. Couldn't make this stuff up if he tried. Eventually, Dirk does manage to locate Felix. The whole FNAF pizzeria is hidden inside an abandoned water park. But the weird part isn't the where, but rather the how of finding Felix. You see, Dirk is only able to find the pizzeria using a series of clues that are found in a random novel written by the creator's daughter. In universe, Felix's creator also had a daughter who grew up to become a popular author. And in one of her books, The Dogged Dogmatist, she hides a series of clues in plain sight within the book's dialogue. These clues ultimately prove meaningless to the characters in the book because they weren't meant for the characters. They were instead meant for the readers, to give them information they needed to find Felix. It is very weird. Anyway, Dirk figures all of this out and confronts the author. She gives him her butterfly necklace, and he uses all of this Indiana Jones style to unlock a secret key hidden in the bottom of an empty pool at the water park. The key unlocks the path to the secret Freddy's where Dirk finally finds Felix. And then Dirk dies by climbing into the tank with Felix because these characters always have to die in the stories. It's dumb, but, you know, so be it. Anyway, you see what's so weird about all this, right? Out of nowhere, this story is talking about clues to a real-world location.
I get, like, what they're going for with, like, the... Oh, in the book or whatever, there's little details go to a real-world place. Why would you go in the tank? I think just seeing the Felix, the scary shot. Just take a picture, show it to your friends, and get out. Like, what's it gonna do? Jump on land? It doesn't have any legs. It's a shark robot. How does it even swim underwater? How's it not electrocuted? That's my question.
Hidden inside of another book. Clues that are meaningless to the characters, but meaningful to the readers. Not only did this stand out to me as a suspiciously meta moment, but it also got me to immediately think about the previous Fazbear Frights installment, Prankster. You see, in preparation for the release of Felix the Shark, I wanted to refresh myself on all the previous stories. There are 33 of these things after all. It's a lot to keep track of. So I turned to another book, the recently released Ultimate Guidebook, which, if you don't know, has summaries of literally everything that's ever happened in the Freddy Fazbear universe, from the games to the books to the fan theories. Basically, if you're trying to catch up with the series quickly, it's definitely worth a read. And since this is the third and final addition to the book, one written by Scott Cawthon, you know that whatever is deemed most relevant for the lore is going to be called out within its pages. Anyway, each Fazbear Fright story has its own little summary page providing a general plot overview as well as a list of connections between the story and the games. Not everything here is useful, but it definitely gets you into the mindset of the authors, and it helps you see some of the connections that the stories were trying to make. Again, if it doesn't make the cut to appear in this book, you're likely barking down the wrong path. Likewise, if something is called out within these pages, it's at least worth considering when theory crafting. TLDR, as I was getting close to the end of my refresher course, I noticed this in the new lead section for the title story of Book 11, Prankster. Quote, some of the puzzle clues, such as Stinger Moot and even more frights, may have implications beyond the plot. Careful readers may want to give these scenes a second look. Implications beyond on the plot, you say? Just like with Felix the Shark, it appears that the Ultimate Guide is also pointing us to meta clues within a different book. Clues that are meant for us, the readers, rather than for the characters in the story.
Ooh.
So I went back to Prankster. In this story, the main character Jeremiah is trying to save his friends from a mysterious glitchy voice that's freed itself from a FNAF VR game that's being worked on at the company. Sounds pretty darn familiar. Along the way, he's presented with a series of riddles. Stinger Moot, which is an anagram of testing room. Give me one and I'll make more, each one like the one before. What am I? Your next clue contains even more frights. To get there, you just need to follow the lights. I see you're moving closer to your goal. Follow the lights to make things right. And for the key to find where your friends hide, roll up your sleeves and reach inside. Now, I've gone back and forth over these clues multiple times, but it felt like a lot of them were just pointing back to stuff that we'd already discussed in previous theories. The give me one and I'll make more felt like a reference to the glitch trap cult, using FNAF VR's tapes to infect more playtesters. The following the lights clues maybe could be a reference to Princess Quest, where we have to light the lanterns to reveal the truth and eventually set Vanessa free, but none of this was new information. We've talked about all of this stuff in depth. Security Breach seemed to confirm some of this stuff, and to be honest, the connections I could make were speculative at best. I tried rearranging the letters into anagrams, didn't really get anything interesting. I even considered that maybe the Stinger Moot and even more frights clues were literal. The stingers of the Fazbear Frights books were the epilogues about the Stitch Wraiths, so maybe if the stinger is moot, then the Stitch Wraith stuff is ultimately meaningless. Even more frights might refer to the next set of books, Tales of the Pizzaplex. I mean, sure, that's a valid explanation, but it was speculation at best, and also pretty darn lame. Why would you go to all the trouble of hiding meta clues like this about stuff that feels ultimately underwhelming? These aren't really questions that people were asking themselves, you know? So, at least according to the Ultimate Guide, there's definitely something hidden inside of that prankster story, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there was even more that was suspicious with Felix the Shark. You see, Dirk doesn't just find the secret Freddy's thanks to written clues inside of a random book. There's also a very specific drawing in the middle of that book. Here's the full quote when describing the Dogged Dogmatist, the book where the hidden clues are from. Quote, the man's search for the creature was convoluted on the whole, but certain lines in the book went beyond convoluted. They just didn't make sense. Neither did the drawing in the middle of the book, an ornate and frilly sketch of what looked like butterflies and flowers. The drawing was never referred to in the book, and it couldn't be related to any of the story. Were the odd lines and drawings some kind of code? For what purpose? And that's not the only time drawings are brought up in this one story. There was yet another odd reference in Felix the Shark that jumped out to me. Quote again, I'd forgotten all about Freddy's, but yeah, now I remember. I loved the Freddy's coloring books. That's what started my drawing. Eventually, I got tired of coloring and just drew the figures. Last year, the official FNAF coloring book released, which for a normal franchise would be a big ol' who cares moment. But here, where the biggest character reveals happened in a spin-off children's activity book, yeah, I wouldn't put anything past this franchise. So it felt strange to mention a real-world item for it only to mean nothing. So, of course, I bought myself the coloring book and the official How to Draw book. I went through the pages over and over and over again, but the only thing I was drawing was a blank. Seriously though, I couldn't find anything. Loads of cool pieces of artwork, like this twisted Chica that's only ever mentioned by name, but nothing major. I checked with black lights, I heated up a page or two to see if it would reveal some invisible ink. Nothing. Or at least nothing that I could find. And then it hit me. What if this wasn't about solving a mystery within the story, but instead something bigger, something more real? The clues in Dirk's book didn't make any sense until you were in the right place at the right time. This could all be hinting at an ARG, where just like Dirk, if you find the location, suddenly the clues that people had been theorizing about for months start to fall into place, which leads us to the final story of Felix the Shark, The Scoop. In this story, a young girl named Mandy is an online FNAF theorist. No joke, she even signs off one of her posts by saying, and I quote, I can't share all my secret facts yet until I solve this game theory. Anyway, Mandy digs through the code of FNAF 3, literally FNAF 3 the game. It is mentioned explicitly, only to discover a hidden picture of a building. She tracks it down and she learns about a real-life missing children's incident. After a few nightmares where the spirit of the dead child appears, she ends up going to the location only to find an old animatronic bear giving off a nasty smell. Surprise, surprise, the kid was inside of there the whole time. Mandy is praised as a hero for finally finding the missing child, and she closes out her blog by saying, quote, I will probably never know for certain how this mysterious building is connected to the FNAF universe. The only thing I am certain of is if the creator wanted us to know, I think he would tell us. Wow. Just wow. Feeling a bit attacked, not gonna lie. Though, in my defense, if we waited for Scott to tell us anything, we'd know next to nothing about this franchise's lore. Just saying. Anyway, outside of the heavy references in this story to theorists and the real-world game of FNAF 3, the weirdest thing about this one is that it contains a lot of specific specific details as to where the events of the story take place. 33 Fazbear Frights in, and no other story in the franchise features this level of detail. The cities, the street names, file names, locations of buildings, details that are seemingly inconsequential to the greater story, and in pretty much every other book would be skimmed over or kept vague. When Mandy finds this mysterious image in the game files, she traces it back to Utah. Yes, the actual US state. This fact is further solidified when Mandy's mom takes her on a business trip to Cedar City, a real city in Utah, to complete the investigation. Now, this is where the trail starts to go cold, because what Mandy's looking for is an old cinema on Willowfield Road in Peace Valley, which after a lot of Google searches, I can tell you just doesn't exist, at least not in Utah. However, in the story, we do learn that Peace Valley is only 15 minutes on highway from Cedar City, so I looked up where you can drive to in 15 minutes from the center of Cedar City. And it turns out there's a very small town just to the south called Canaraville. So I hopped onto Google Street View to check out other details that the book mentioned, like the old cinema, which used to be a pizzeria, as well as having a post office on the corner. Unfortunately, neither of these things seem to exist in Canaraville. They do have a post office, and it's near a corner, but it's more like the middle of the street. And so shy of me buying a plane ticket to go to the middle of nowhere Utah myself, my options were once again drying up. So, okay, but what about the actual game? The game Mandy is playing is specifically called out to be FNAF 3. I wondered if Scott had maybe retroactively put a file into the game that maybe everyone's missed, so I went over to Steam and looked at the update logs, but the game hasn't been updated since April of 2015.
What about the
consoles? I very much doubt that Scott's been playing a 7-year long...
You know, like, console... You know how they updated all the games for the consoles? They could have done that.
Con, especially since Into the
mobile.
Pit, the first Fazbear Frights book, didn't hit store shelves until December of 2019. But Mandy wasn't just playing FNAF 3, it's explicitly mentioned that she's playing the FNAF 3 mobile port. So I took a look at those update logs. Same situation. The game hasn't been updated since February of 2020. Now, we don't know when this story got cut in the 2 years of Fazbear Frights run, so it could have been in existence then, but I'll be honest, I do not have the elite hacker skills to bust open a mobile game to look for the files. And so, just like that, I was out of options, out of clues, out of ideas. Gotta be honest, I feel kinda defeated on this one. Weeks of looking through these books trying to find something that just wasn't clicking, and yet I couldn't shake it. The whole thing gave me some big Gravity Falls ARG vibes. For those of you who don't know, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Gravity Falls, did this massive globe-spanning ARG back in 2016. It was a series that was all about hidden mysteries, ciphers, secret codes, complete with a book, much like the survival logbook that you could buy that contained puzzles and secrets for the fan community to solve. And this ARG, launched after the conclusion of the show, tasked fans of the series from all corners of the map to work together in a quest that would eventually lead them to a statue of the show's villain, Bill Cipher, hidden out in the middle of the woods. Maybe FNAF was seeding out clues for something similar. Or maybe there were plans to do a similar sort of treasure hunt, but the plans got scrapped along the way. I can't be sure, but there were just too many weird details here that didn't seem to be mere coincidences. Regardless, I'd been bested, but that didn't mean I was done. The last time I felt like this was when the survival logbook released, but instead of giving up, I threw the clues that I'd noticed out to you guys, the theorist community, to help me solve it. And he came through. We found Cassidy's name, a name that has since been confirmed by Scott himself. So here I am again at the end of my tether, asking you for help once more. It seems like something's here, but if it is, I can't figure it out on my own. Maybe you're a theorist from Utah and you know the locations I'm talking about. Maybe you do know how to break open the files of a mobile game. Maybe you're as obsessed with this franchise as I am, and you too have the coloring book, and you notice something on those pages that I don't. We haven't let FNAF beat us yet, and we're sure as heck not gonna let it happen today. If you think you've gotten yourself some answers, or maybe just another lead, head on over to the Game Theorist subreddit to post your findings. I'm gonna be keeping a very close eye on this one, cause like you, I wanna see this franchise solved. Link is down in the description below to check out the Game Theorist subreddit. And speaking of what's below the video, one final reminder about the new Theoryware, which is available now. It's one of the biggest launches that we've done.
I think the ARG would be cool. I think it might be, you know, it probably is real. Maybe, you know, you can't be certain. But just like with the Bill Cipher thing, I would be scared if I was making the ARG that like someone would go out of their way and like find the location just to like ruin it, like destroy something, throw bricks. I want to spray paint it. There's stuff you could do, but you could also say like who's dedicated, who like a normal person or just someone who wants to be rude is that dedicated to solve the puzzle. You could probably find online like the location, or not, depends. But yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. Maybe a golden Freddy snatch, maybe a real life Freddy Fazbear's, or it's just like an old building they built and then just put Freddy on it. That'd be cool though. There's a lot of cool things they could do with that. I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm not smart enough to decode mobile games. I do not have the coloring book, and I do not live in Utah. I gotta make sure. You never know. I don't think Utah even exists. Actually, no. Utah probably does exist. I don't know about Wisconsin. Wisconsin's fake. I already know. It's just it's just one big IKEA. They just don't let you see it though. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in the next video. If I had the coloring book, I would do something, but I do not. And I'm sure there's tons of other people that can do it, and I don't really want to. If there is something hidden in the coloring book, maybe I'll buy it to check for fun, solve it on my own. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.